GameSpot's here at CES 2020, and there's a ton of gaming stuff to actually check out on the show, even if the focus is on tech. Matt, what's the coolest stuff that you saw?
So honestly, the coolest stuff I saw at CES was Arcade 1UP's booth. We had an exclusive announcement with them. Burger Time, a limited edition Burger Time arcade cabinet is coming. And they've also got stuff like NBA Jam with online multiplayer, Frogger, Star Wars sit-down cabinet, and a Golden Axe cabinet with a bunch of Sega classics, including Golden Axe Revenge of the Death Adder, this is the first time that game's been re-released since the arcade. So it's like a pretty big deal. But they've also got digital pinball, which is really exciting because I'm a huge pinball fan. Pinball tables are huge, they break a lot, they're hard to move. These are a bit more compact, but they seem really cool. They've got Zen Studios on them. It's going to be rad.
Yeah. How about that huge NBA Jam cabinet where you had to get on the scaffolding to actually play and smash those huge ass buttons?
You got to like put your elbow on the turbo button and then smash the shoot button with your fist.
If you want to dunk.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And honestly, they got a bunch of the players for NBA Jam, which is like one of those concerns people have always had about re-releasing that game.
Right.
Some players won't be there, but they seem to have done a really great job with it.
Yeah, their booth is probably one of the most exciting things on the show floor. But we also saw a lot of things in suites with a lot of companies showing off their upcoming products. One of which is HyperX. And I think out of all the things that they were showing off, the best thing was their Switch grips, which is what is it called?
The ChargePlay clutch.
Yes, and I know that you're very much looking for things on the Switch to improve the grip.
Yeah, I'm always looking for something to make the Switch bigger and more like a real controller. And HyperX is releasing this ChargePlay clutch, which is not only a battery for your Switch, but also has magnetic handles that you put onto it, and it kind of gives you a more rounded experience with the Switch. And honestly, like, as someone who has tried all these different grips, I was pretty impressed by it. So that's definitely something to look out for that I would definitely recommend keeping an eye on.
Sure. And I always see Nvidia every year, and they always have something new to show off. This year, it was 360 hertz monitors. Now, the thing about their booth was that they had side-by-side comparisons playing CSGO with different monitors using different refresh rates. So you saw firsthand the experience of jumping from 60 hertz to 360 hertz, even 144 hertz, which we use at home, and we're like perfectly happy with. Yeah. And then we got to the direct comparison between 144 and 360, and that is a difference. I was surprised by it. I'm like, maybe this is diminishing returns, but I did feel a difference. And the way they had their booth set up with testing CSGO, they had like a scoreboard of how many kills you can get in a certain like trial, so you can actually see the improvement from increasing your refresh rate. And that was a lot of fun because we're CSGO players, so we're interested by how we can actually improve our game, and that was a very good case showing off that improvement.
We also went to Razer. They always have awesome stuff to show at CES. And the coolest thing they had this year was for your phone, turning your phone into like more of like a Switch-like device. Because there's stuff like Project X Cloud, there's Stadia coming, there's a bunch of stuff coming.
Yeah, the Razer Kishi is what they were showing off. They also have, what was the other one that you used
The Jungle
before?
Cat.
The Jungle Cat.
That's out. It's literally just Switch Joy-Cons clipped into your phone.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And the Kishi is sort of an improvement over that. And yeah, we were playing Devil May Cry 5 through Project X Cloud using the Razer Kishi, and it's like, this is very close to a console-like experience. And Razer likes to do all kinds of wild things. Like on the show floor, they have that built-out racing 360 racing thing with all kinds of haptic feedback. But this is something that's a lot more grounded, something that you can actually see yourself using, especially as we see a lot of these services move onto phones.
Absolutely, it's very exciting. And of course Elgato was here, and they are showing off their new capture card that is 4K 60, and it like rivals some of the stuff that we use at GameSpot. And like, that's really exciting because you don't need anything extra. You just plug in an SD card, plug in your console, you're good to go. And like, honestly, like, as streaming gets bigger, as video production gets, a way bigger industry with YouTube and all that, it's really impressive that they're continuing to make products that make sense, and they're like nailing that audience.
Yeah, the content creation is getting a lot more streamlined with products like this. So Elgato's at the top of their game. That was at the Corsair booth. Of course, Corsair has a bunch of keyboards and mice to show off. We saw the new version of the K95, all kinds of lights. They have light strips and cases with all kinds of crazy lights. But Elgato in particular is probably the most sensible thing that I think a lot of people should be excited about. We always see HyperKin at CES, and they always have dope retro stuff to show off. This year, the new thing was the RetroN Jr. We didn't get to have hands-on with it because it's still in early development. This is the first time they showed it to anybody, but it's supposed to play Game Boy Advance games and output to your TV. So if you have all these Game Boy games and you have no way of playing it on TV unless you got, what is the Game Boy, that adapter on the GameCube? Yeah, unless you have that, you're not going to be playing any Game Boy games on your TV. But this thing is going to make that a lot easier. There's no release date, there's no pricing on it quite yet because, again, it was a prototype, and HyperKin is always good at focusing on what it is you want to get out of your older games, making them easier to play than ever. So I'm excited about this thing, and they have a good track record of doing this thing right. One thing you probably saw making headlines at CES this year was the Alienware Concept UFO, because it is a PC that is intended to be used like a Nintendo Switch. We actually got hands-on with it, even though this is an early prototype. And it has an 8-inch screen, it has detachable controllers, it's running Windows 10, it has an Intel 10th gen CPU inside of that running it. And again, this is an early build, so there are things you might notice if you get hands-on with it. Like the fans were really loud, the performance was a little iffy, but it was up and running, it was working, and we got to see their kind of the Alienware ecosystem of how they're gonna handle PC libraries for games. It looks like a Switch library in many ways.
Absolutely.
But actually holding the thing, it's pretty big. It's bigger than a Switch because it does have an 8-inch screen. It's a little hefty, but I mean, I like the design. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There are definitely some questions, but it's an experiment for them, which is cool because we're not looking at this thing like it's releasing in November. We're looking at this thing like these are some cool first steps into this. I'm excited to see what's next.
We have a full video on the Alienware Concept UFO, so you should check that out after you're done watching this. AMD always has a big splash at CES, but for our purposes, we got to talk to some of the developers of the AMD Radeon 5600 XT, which is a good mid-range card. It's not the most exciting thing, but I think it solidifies what AMD is trying to do with the graphics processing and really taking care of the mid to low range and giving a lot of people options there, whereas Nvidia, their main competitor, is coming out with like super high-end stuff and ray tracing and all that. So I'm still impressed by how AMD is able to corner that market with even more products.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we saw Creative Labs. It was our last demo of the show, and honestly, one of the most impressive things I saw at CES. It's this technology where basically it makes headphones sound like a surround system in your room. And this sounded better than virtual surround sound.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. Our demo literally was, we sat in a room, they said, put on the headphones, let us know when you hear the sound. And we were like, when is it gonna play? Yeah. You're just playing the speakers. And then it was like, oh wow, those are the headphones.
Yeah.
It's really exciting technology, sounds great. They're coming out with a gaming headset. These are the SXFI AIR. They're a Bluetooth headphone, got a microphone, all the good stuff. And honestly, we tested out the gaming headset. It's exciting. We played some CS:GO with it, and it's got some really good potential to be just absolutely fantastic headphones. And of course, we are going to be testing out a bunch of these, so stay tuned to GameSpot for that.
So those are our favorite things that we saw at CES 2020. It really was a show of demoing side by side the potential of a lot of the products that we saw. And we're covering it on GameSpot.com, so be sure to check out our website for all our coverage on CES 2020. Thanks for watching.